Well, because if you could levitate, then you wouldn't have any reason for that awesome jump mechanic they put in the game. Like the game's just played by 8 and 9-year-olds who are too young to understand like what makes a bad game. So like all the producers and developers are just looking at it like, yeah. Okay. So is everybody recording? Yeah, please do that. And thanks for that. Oh, God damn it. I mean, it was fucking... Now I'm going to live in fear for the rest of the time that I play that game. I'm going to live in fear of shade popping around corners and like out of holes and ventilation shafts and shit. God damn. So I can expect that to happen many more times. Wow, Kendra. Oh my God. Just blatant, like, I'm using you for as a means to an end. Speaking of what of things we need, Kendra, I need you to drop the rest of your audio recordings into the shared folder on the G drive because I've noticed you're missing a couple. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, cool. All right, everybody recording? All right. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So why don't we just kind of pick up where we left off? Maybe a little bit after that. Essentially, Delacourt has sacrificed himself to save your lives. The restaurant where you pulled the wife and child, or the mother and child, out of the burning building, that's burning and collapsed. There's no getting into it. Jay and Vandal kind of have slack-jawed looks of shock on their face. Roy, it seems like a little bit despondent that he simply can't get through the rubble to get to Delacourt. Travis is unconscious but breathing. And Sherry and Becky, I assume, are somewhere between aiding the mother and child and, getting their wind back from smoke inhalation. So I'm going to give you guys just like a little bit of time here, like call it, I don't know, 15 minutes or so to tell me what you would do for the rest of the night. Do you help people, seek aid? Do you try to, look for other survivors who might be pinned under something, or, just tell me how you would spend the rest of this night. Any kind of damage for smoke inhalation, considering I've been building up a resistance to that this entire time. Kendra, so doesn't work that way. It does not work that way at all. Oh my God. Jesus.
That's one of those things that you feel about like some YouTuber killed themselves trying it.
So listen, guys, I shower every single day. Okay? Yeah.
Missy and Ryder and the other people that come from the garage were hiding out there and come to the scene?
No, they were going to they basically called you and they were gonna rendezvous with you once they got the all clear that the coast was clear. And also Harrington and Robin wanted to meet up with you, and the Atlanta cell want to meet up with you, and they want to all compare notes. So I'm not saying that like you guys have to do any of those things first, but you're basically near the rendezvous point, and it's completely up to you whether you decide to wait for them and talk to them, or if you want to say like, hey, let's rendezvous tomorrow because we're all exhausted and injured and stuff. I'm leaving it in your hands.
I can wonder if we figure this shit out right now. Yeah, Dana would agree that if debrief right after everything would be a good idea. He's basically no willpower left, but he does have just enough conviction to scoot over to Travis and give him a little bit of a boost. Like rejuvenate, see if that wakes him up.
After a few minutes, it does. He starts to come around, and as the minutes pass, he starts to get on his feet. He's not injured, like he didn't break any bones or suffer any massive trauma. It's more of he exhausted himself. Is it kind of like when you like lift a lot of weights, and you're trying to max out. In trying to hold up an entire second floor by himself, he kind of wiped himself out. Is there someone in the background talking?
Yeah, sorry, that's on my end.
If you could mute yourself when you're not talking, so that doesn't come. Thank you.
We're in kind of downtown Atlanta at this point. Is that about right?
Little 5 Points, yes. So okay. so close to downtown.
And this is like, I'm trying to get like a mental image of the scene. So it's nighttime for sure, and it's not like we're in a riot. It's like we're in the aftermath of a riot.
That is correct.
All right. So like car alarms and sirens in the distance, and
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then after kind of being monochronic for a little bit, you're going to get the rebel. Ray gets up and goes to the van. Because we weren't parked very far away from the research. And like starts basically like
Travis actually like clearing the cobwebs from his own head and like trying to get back on his feet, asks the remaining three of you, listen, I know the Atlanta cell's probably on their way, and if you guys want me to stay here and back you up with that, I totally will. But he looks after Roy. He's got a point, and if you don't need me, I'm actually going to go with him and help out if I can.
Just keep your eyes out. So there's in the van also, Roy's already gone, but like everybody would be familiar. There's like a full toolbox in there if he wants to grab anything to, I don't know, shift rubble instead of using himself. We could do that.
Sure. Travis will grab the toolbox. He doesn't bother trying to move the van because it's still pretty gridlock traffic.
Right. Let's just confirm that the mother in the center are just, conscious and okay. Is there, like, I presume she would have also seen.
Yes, she would have been. And actually, I'm so sorry. Travis offers to Cherry before he goes, you weren't part of this whole Atlanta cell debacle or anything, and I'm not suggesting you abandon everybody here, but if you want to come with us, you're certainly welcome to. He just sort of leaves that hanging in the air as a choice. I'm so sorry. I should have just let you talk. I mean, if you two were gonna have a first date, this is probably what it would look like, an approximation.
This hellish war zone.
Yes. You want to play skee ball in the burnt out Chuck E. Cheese?
This is where there's no actual audio from the scene, but there's just romantic music playing over quick cuts. It's yesterday, turned on empty car that we passed by is playing a different romantic song.
So Becky and Vandal head to the rendezvous point. Okay. Yeah, you reach it. It's some sort of memorial statue, and after a few moments, Harrington and Robin appear from the south, and the certain members of the Atlanta cell, in particular, Paul, Chandra, and Barry, arrive from the west. And as they converge, Robin looks at the Atlanta cell, and the Atlanta cell looks back at him, and there's some faint recognition. And then the Atlanta cell looks at the two of you, and they're kind of dumbfounded, actually. They, Paul finally takes up the initiative and says, "What is going on? How did you know about?" And he just waves his hand like wildly across the horizon. All of this.
Okay, well, let's see. So it turns out my dad was working with some vampires to develop a cure for the bestiality vampirism affliction, but it didn't go so well. And how's everybody been? It's been a while.
Okay, time out, pinky up. It's just the beast, not the bestiality. God. Yeah, by the way, I should point out that Jay totally slunk off into the shadows somewhere, and it's probably a good thing, too. Okay, so all three members of the Atlanta cell look dumbfounded. They shake their heads as if trying to wrap them around what you just said. Harrington and Robin are pretty much in the same boat, and no one talks. It becomes an awkward silence for a few moments, and then finally Harrington has the presence of mind to ask, "Are we all right now? Then, do we have any further danger to worry about, or have we reached the end of this?"
Data processes almost takes a deep breath. Yeah, what we can tell. As much as hey, not everybody in Atlanta died. I'd call that a win.
Chandra looks across at the burning buildings and kind of scoffs and says, "You call this a win?"
Yeah, actually, I do. Randall says, shooting her harsh glare. Compared to
She starts to lock her own steely gaze at you, and then sort of sensing the sparks in the air, and not good sparks. Barry slides in between the two of you and says, "Look, there's clearly a lot of work to be done here and now. So, and we obviously have some catching up to do." And he gestures towards you and Becky, and he says, "Why don't we just schedule a time and talk? We really need to, you know, hash some things out. There's some things we need to tell you, and there's some things we'd like it if you told us." And he looks at you, and he looks at Chandra and Paul, and he says, "Okay, truce, please."
day after tomorrow at Tech Back Lab. I'd say tomorrow, but tomorrow I'm going to be hungover as fuck.
Chandra and Paul, after a moment, consider and nod, and they set an exact time, and then they head off in the direction they came, presumably to also help look for survivors and offer aid where they can. Harrington and Robin remain behind, and Robin asks, "Wait, so this was all the work of vampires?"
Vanderbilt's over in Randall walks over and extends a hand, to shake hands, and says, "Yeah, vampires. Crazy fucking anarchist black magic vampires. You know, the usual."
Unfortunately, we can't say it was all their help. They definitely got some human assistance with the manufacturing and distribution portion.
And it wasn't just all one land species type of vampire either.
Herring,
I'm sure there's aware of the vampire war that happened in the city. In the past, the two warring factions, there was actually, you know what, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm fucking exhausted from this. We'll cover it day after tomorrow.
Harrington coughs quietly and says, I'm afraid we won't be able to join you at the bar the day after tomorrow, but we will keep in touch. There are things of our own that we have to deal with, and, you know, while we're always happy to help with dire emergencies like this, there...
No, of course. Was your business. No worries.
Yes, thank you for understanding. And and he looks at you in particular, you're feeling all right?
Yeah, as good as I could be. Actually, really, really good. For the first time in a long time.
That's good to hear. You know, if you have any questions or issues in the future, please turn to me. I'll help in any way I can.
Yeah, there'll be questions. It's not like everything's all hunky-dory. But I'm good for now. I can't remember. I'll give you a call when things come up.
Excellent. And Robin, you know, hesitates at first, but then he walks up and gives you guys a hug awkwardly. And then he breaks it quickly and then heads off with Harrington, and they disappear into the smoke.
And after they're gone, Vandal turns to what he presumes is.
Oh no, Jay's gone. Jay,
Oh, he's gone.
yeah, Jay left you like not too terribly long after you guys started getting up and going in your separate directions.
Okay, I thought he like literally stepped into the shadows.
No, it wasn't like a Roy I'm hiding thing, but you know. Yeah.
We're looking at vampire. I am living nearby and keeping a weather eye on the situation, kind of thing.
No, that's Roy, or not Roy. Jay kind of, you know, you got the sense that he was a bit overwhelmed by the entire thing. So, okay, so that's that for now. Do you guys, do Becky and Vandal go out and try to help survivors, or they meet up with Missy and Rhino? Do they just kind of go home and be like, oh my God, let's, you know, get some sleep because we're fucking exhausted? Or
Yeah, Vandal would want to head to the garage, and the first thing he would say upon opening the door is, "Someone get me a fucking beer."
they're all out of beer. I mean, well, if you think about it, like, over a dozen people holed up in there during a riot, you know, people nervously drank beer. And there wasn't a whole lot of beer to go around.
And that's the biggest tragedy of all.
Yeah, I mean, so Vandal realizes, man, the Fisticane really did win.
Swears a blood oath of vengeance.
I'm gonna raise you fuckers back from the dead and kill you all over again.
He falls to his knees, throws his arms upwards. As the camel turns upwards.
All right.
To the ceiling above the roof.
All right. So there's no beer.
There's no beer.
Yep.
Well, how is everybody?
Missy runs up to and throws her arms around your neck, gives you a big hug. Rhino kind of awkwardly stands there, and then after a minute, like, he also gives you a hug. You know, one of those very bro-like 2 slaps on the back kind of thing.
Easy there, big guy.
Oh,
What the hell?
sorry, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So, what happened? I mean, you guys got here? Is it just been chill?
No, man. Like, you know, they seem to ignore this place, but, you know, it's like you looked out a window and it was like 28 weeks later, man. People just running down the street, screaming, throwing bricks through windows and turning cars over and just hitting stuff with pipes or bits of sign or just sticks, whatever they could find. Just, it was fucked up, man. I've never seen anything like it. And they weren't even, like, what was this even about? Did the cops shoot someone again? Or
Vandal puts the arm on Rhino's shoulder and says, look, I'll, Missy and I, the 3 of us will sit down and we'll talk about it. Soon. I promise, soon. And I'll tell you everything. But for now, let's look after everybody. Everyone who's here, they're fine. What about their families? What about all their connections? Did they lose everybody?
I mean, there's a couple people, you know, that they haven't been able to get hold of their girlfriends or boyfriends or parents or whatever, but, you know, for the most part, it looks like everybody was able to get in contact with, you know, with their friends and family and whatever. But, you know, I heard all the shops, like Main Street, is just completely smashed in, man. There's fires everywhere and there's wrecked cars. I think my own work got trashed. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Vandal crosses his arms, looks down and frowns. Alright, he looks around at everybody. Looks over at one of the cars that's sitting in the garage, and then he pulls over and he hops up on the hood. Says, alright, everybody, listen up. I'm looking at this. I know you're all scared. I know everything's all sorts of fucked up, but
Roll leadership, charisma, difficulty 7, because they're all shook.
yeah, I don't have any points of
Woke af.
kind of not the only one that does that.
Yeah. All right. They not everybody comes around. Some
It's like the one person in the crowd that's like, whoa!
yeah. they try to start a slow clap for you that nobody responds to.
One person.
Out of the dozen people or so that are gathered there, aside from Missy and Rhino, 3 of them are all about it, and they're like, "All right, let's go for it. What do we do?" And the others just sort of filter back to their homes.
Alright, what do we do? First things first. Fire extinguishers. That means there's Sosa around.
Yeah, Sosa comes up and says, "Hey, glad you're all right."
Yeah, you too, old man.
And then he's gone. Angels kiss.
All right. Dan, unless there's something like absolutely specific and complex you want to run through here, I kind of want to just do a generic. All right, let's get out there and see how we can help people, kind of thing.
Nothing beyond Vanderwood. Let Sosa know that he appreciates letting everyone hold up and any more help that he provides. Vandal's gonna, repay either, work, money, whatever it takes.
He says, like, forget all that. It's nothing. And he claps you on the shoulder.
Cool.
I'm just gonna make sure all these people get home okay, all right? And he offers to give several people a ride to their respective homes, like all the people who are trying to get home and who aren't joining you on your helping party. Rescue mission, rescue party. Yeah. Does Becky want to do anything specific or complex at this particular moment? Okay. Roy, do you want to narrate anything specific?
If we're gonna be like transitioning to the next day, then yeah. But if there's stuff tonight, no.
Well, then let's just say that the 5 of you, I guess, the 5 core plus the people that you've sort of recruited to your cause, work all throughout the night, well after the sun rises, just trying to, put cars back where they should be, and just generally help people get home safe. And you clear the roads of debris so that traffic can resume, and you help people get to paramedic tents that are being pitched up all over the place. Roy, you find several strays, and you call the shelter, and or you call your I guess your business partner left town. Dan, I guess your business partner left town already.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like strays and stuff, like we'll like collect them in the van.
Sure.
We can always take them to the shelter.
Okay. So you use your animal ken to have them follow you around until you can actually get back to the van, because, as I said, you sort of had to leave the van there because it was all log jammed.
That's fine.
Yeah. Cherry, do you want to go looking for your dad tonight, or?
No, not necessarily, but saw from a text that her mom is sort of, just a life and a life check.
Yeah. Your mom and dad are okay. They're overjoyed to know that you're okay. And they tell you that they love you. And your dad asks if you got his letter.
Sarah doesn't, she's not going to respond, but she's going to question about that. When I kind of look at her phone, I don't know what letter.
Okay. So if we move on to the next day, Jamie, did you have something specific for that?
Just a couple of, I guess, housekeeping things. Like, is what basically what's at this, I don't want to say like a man possessed, but like until there's either nothing left to help with or the authorities literally tell them to stop. So whatever that means, like this is like a, and I don't want to say something like fugue state, but like this is like a personal, this is search and rescue, this is in a war zone, like this is stuff that he's trained for and has personal commitment to, plus this is very personal tonight, and there's a certain amount of like, not great costs.
So he needs to help.
Yeah, he's throwing himself into this way more than he probably should. I'm thinking like mechanics aside, like to the point of exhaustion. So my thought was that once we get to that point where the actual paramedics and police and fire rescue and everybody are like turning help away, like we've got it, and there doesn't seem to be anything else that we can do. Then it's taking the strays to the shelter and getting them at least set in the set up in their own spaces to kind of deal with later. And then Roy takes the dogs to the vet to try to get them some help because they were pretty bad hurt, like not dying, we said, but certainly messed up. And I think like when he takes them to the vet, I think at that point, because he's gone to exhaustion, Roy passes out in the waiting room, like he's just hit kind of his limit. Because you figure this has been, all day and then all night, and it's been really.
Okay.
And like.
Okay, yeah. Travis sticks with you for the night, and if anything, the only reason he is able to go a little bit longer, and by longer I mean he stays awake as you pass out, and he just sort of makes sure that you're fine and the dogs are fine as they're awaiting treatment. It's only because like Vandal recently hit him with the rejuvenate, so he's
Oh, nice.
yeah, he's a little bit woken up, but he's aside from just being like awake, and it's that kind of awake where like your body won't function anymore, but your mind can't turn off. So
yeah, it's like the after credits for the Avengers.
Yeah. So you guys work through the night to the point of exhaustion. Becky's father calls and he says, "I've seen the news. Are you all right?"
Well, we made it through the night. The city's not completely destroyed, and you might have to find a new money product coming down the lines because that's done. And she says that without any kind of, does not broker an argument. It's done.
Yes, well, Rebecca, I have some people that I would like you to meet with in the coming days as soon as we have a few board meetings, but your mother and I have been talking, and we might not come back to the States right away.
I think that's a wise decision.
Yes, and we would be deeply honored if you would represent my seat in the board for the foreseeable future, let's call it.
Becky just starts to laugh.
Yeah, make sure you stay somewhere without extradition with the U.S.
Look, I understand that this isn't exactly your forte, but between
Not my forte. Out of all the shit that you have seen happen, out of everything you know is out there, you really think that I need to spend my time at a board meeting running a company?
you wouldn't be running the company every day, day in, day out. You would just sit at the meetings and cast your vote on important things.
Important things.
Yes.
Important things like running a business. Did you learn nothing from all of this? You know what's out there.
I learned that you are an incredibly capable young woman and probably capable of making better decisions than I. That's why I'm trusting you with this. The company,
That is not a promise in any way.
just keep this in mind, Rebecca. The company is a powerful asset, and in your hands, you could do a world of good.
I'll try and do the world of damage.
Well, c'est la vie. And then he hangs up. Well, I think we would all react to nearly causing citywide genocide a little differently. So, judge not. I mean, what would you say in that situation?
I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh, no. Adrian Rollins apologizes to no one.
And just porcelain
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's see here. So, I think we should do this. This is just sort of a housekeeping thing. In the between now and the time you guys are ready to rendezvous with the Atlanta cell, which I hate to do this, but it has to get pushed back. Just so this timeline of events makes sense. I'm not trying to say like I'm not putting this off indefinitely. I'm just putting it back like a week or so. You guys are finally able to secure legal representation for Trevor McNamara, and he gets released from prison on parole. Like he wasn't able to get completely off the hook for his alleged crime, but he was granted parole basically because Roy offered to hire him at No Man Left Behind immediately. So like that smooth things over. If you want to actually, Jay, I mean you wrote it, so if you want to, I prefer.
So yeah, for one of the couple of requirements for things like parole are like you need to be able to show you're going to have employment immediately and a place to stay and that sort of thing. So obviously, like his parents are going to give him a place to stay, but again, this is one of those like personal, red in our ledger kind of thing that we're working on. So he offers him employment at No Man Left Behind, and with the strays and stuff that are now left without either places to be or people to care for them, the shelter is probably much more relevant to them. So like it's definitely
well, it's not it's not like over. It's not.
overflowing.
It's not overflowing. It's not packed to capacity, largely because a lot of the strays had been collected um, by Delacourt, and I'm sorry, they were fed to the Fist of Cain, basically.
Like, I don't mean like strays that they collected. I mean new strays.
Got it. Okay.
There's a body pool, or there's a body count.
No strays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orphans.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, yeah. That's like, yeah, but like, people don't know what to do with the pets of loved ones. Like, that's one thing that I think over the course of that next week, like, there's a couple things, of course, not planned to do, but one of them is look out for those animals. So not overflowing and filled to capacity, but certainly they could use the help. So he offers him a job. Not entirely sure how he's going to pay for the extra person and all the supplies and stuff, but that's kind of secondary to doing the right thing.
Travis offers to help you out with the billing.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what he's doing for that. So help him get secure that parole. And I think like when he is actually released and like his parents pick him up and everything, I think Roy is doing the like in another car in the parking lot, like kind of keeping an eye and watching stuff. So like he's there. Like my question would be if anybody else came on that little trip.
I got the lawyers together. I think she would let Roy take care of this on his own. It's your turn. You're adopting him.
Basically.
I mean, fair enough. Then yeah, that's
that is going to be a thing that we'll probably cover in the future. Is if Trevor has to deal with your partner, that's one thing. But if he ever has to deal with you, then he's probably going to remember that fateful night that his life all turned to crap.
right.
He's like,
yeah, that's why I was taking this distance.
yeah. So, I mean, imagine what would be going through his mind. Like, what kind of mind fuck is this?
And then they do like bring it up and help the kid, and I mean he's already been exposed to this world. There's possibly stuff we can learn from it. Like he's not completely as there's some stuff that it could be good to have this kid for.
Right. Okay.
That's one turned out to be a wizard. So.
Yeah.
I've been holding back a wizard alliances this fucking time. Like, I don't know what random things to do, but I would love you guys to ever your data my Well, I mean, if you have questions, that means your character has questions, and if your character has questions, your character can ask my character those questions if you so choose. That's it.
Yep. Roy, you had another thing you wanted to take care of with Katrina.
I do, but I kind of wanted to leave it open if there's other stuff that people want to do. Because, like you said, this is over the course of a week, and I don't want to dominate it all with just Roy stuff.
Well, this particular thing wouldn't.
I mean, I can jump into it if you want to do it next. That's fine.
Kind of, yeah. I just let's get your stuff out of the way, and then if people feel a need to jump in, they'll jump in.
Sure, I can do that. So the other thing that I wanted to do was for ghosts.
She agrees. And that's the only reason she agrees to go, because at first, the way Roy pitches it, she's under the mistaken impression that he's trying to set up some sort of ghost play date for her. Like, they're ghosts just like you, and you should hang out with your own kind.
No, I think so like, yeah, I think he's sort of conflicted and doesn't bring it up. Like they clearly haven't had a conversation or anything like that. But like he lingers and stuff when she goes in. So, but my question on this is, does Cherry find the letter from her dad that was left under her pillow at Rose House, and does she come as well? Because Roy definitely invites her.
I don't know, 'cause I was gonna get back into it, like, because when the text was initially sent, from
this actual going to the group thing.
So, if you search under your pillow, Cherry, you will find a letter there, and inside the envelope, the letter is very short. And it says, Cheryl, Cheryl, I know we've had disagreements in the past. There is so little in this life that really matters. And I understand that with a clarity that I cannot explain in this letter. Please come home. Your mother and I love you very much. Always, Dad. No, the meeting that I'm talking about that's a week away is your meeting with the Atlanta cell.
no, I'm not ghost meeting.
I think it's probably like a malleable timeline. If it's something like
It is.
If she would do something, then it just adapts to that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that is just the questioning and
Probably fine.
once the invite was, offered up.
And yeah, we, as Katrina go in and
Take your headset off, walk out of your room, and just find the nearest body of water and walk into it until your head is submerged.
My dad, try not to cry. Don't start in the corner. It's in the corner.
No. Quarter.
I know,
It's not going to be helpful for the people in your life.
but yeah, I think that's what they do.
Mariah, is there anything specifically you want Cherry to say to her dad? Or because what we can do is you can have like a small encounter with your dad, and I can play the part of him, and we can have that encounter, or we can do that thing where it's just for the story's sake. You know, it's like, and now Cherry's sort of like ready to, you know, open herself back up to that, and we can continue that on at a later date. So it's completely up to you. I'd rather.
No, I think I probably want to go with the second one because I hadn't thought about that. There was going to be meetings I hadn't thought about what she might say.
Perfectly understandable. Okay.
Let's go. That was a good one.
Yes, and I'm sort of trying to.
Like maybe have her like towards the end of it when like she's hoping it might be towards the end, kind of like walk in and stand in the back. You know, like where he could see her kind of thing, but like he's not full on in the room.
One of those, like, she walks in and catches the tail end of the AA meeting, like, it's our strength and we can, like, his last, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then letting out. That's fun.
Yeah, and then as you walk in, he is just wrapping up, and then he motions to one of his, I guess you could call him his right-hand man, and asks him to take on the next part of the meeting. And then he turns towards Cherry, and he takes a couple of steps toward her, and they face each other. And the air is warm, but it's absolutely awkward between them. And I think, for the sake of the story, it's best to just sort of leave it right there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. Now, there's two more things that I have, but they can wait for. I think, Dan, you want to have some closing statements, and Becky, if there's anything else further that you want to do, then let's get that out now.
Is it me or Dan?
It's up to you two.
Okay. Just the way that you phrase that was like Dan. Sure. No, yeah, if you want, go for it. I don't actually particularly have anything.
You don't have to. No. You don't have to have anything particular. I'm just giving you this chance now before I get into my last couple of things. Good choice.
All right. He's all right with it, I guess.
Roy questions, and Becky says, "We drove through a skunk patch." To which Roy replies, "We're in a house."
I don't think they recognize it. No, I guess. I mean, he's does she tell anybody about the offer of the board seat?
It's like it's only been like
Nice.
within a week of this all happening, so I feel like that's a digestion.
Nice.
He really does see this as a huge win. And
So pinky up, timeout. I'm actually gonna have Becky's dad call Vandal and give him the chair position and his reasoning will be, oh my god, you totally think like a CEO. you you just farm out the work to the delegates and then you just fucking party off of the sweat of their labor. Every win is a huge win, my boy.
Until a year later, on a news program, and there's a stock ticker on the bottom, and the story is like, Atlanta Chemical files for bankruptcy.
After their new CEO like spent all their money trying to come up with a pill that gets you drunker faster.
Yeah, literally like a profit takes multi-million.
So the Irish pub was not destroyed in the riot, but definitely fucked up in the riot.
Exactly. But
William Molly is a poor choice of band for this moment. I just want to point out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
And then someone hits skip, and then all of a sudden the roof is on fire, starts playing, and it's flogging Molly. It's not dismembering Molly.
Yeah, they changed it.
Cannibalizing Molly.
All right, anyway.
okay, so as soon as and asks him, now Delacourt prevails up you now to take care of family business. Now, I'm not up on the dealings of vampire courts and whatnot, but does that mean the boon he owed us, does that mean you owe it to us now? Does it pass on like a mortgage from leader to leader?
He is that the first thing you talk about when you call him?
I mean, it's just a lot.
Hi, Jay. You owe me a favor now, right?
Because Jay absolutely hangs up on you at that point.
Okay, that's not the first thing. Okay.
Yeah, it goes to voicemail.
Okay, and what is the custom voicemail message? Because I really want to know what Jay's custom voicemail message is.
It's an NPR recording. Like he won a contest and had the NPR guy do a voiceover for his voicemail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was
Welcome, Kevin.
yeah, it was, but he could only get Chris Pine, so I mean, it's not.
I've had a blur of the past couple of days. That's one of the reasons I'm asking. It's not for me.
Okay. Slowly over the next few days, people. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there anything else that Randall is doing, and do we know about that call?
No.
No. Okay. Then, not too long after everybody else has noticed that he is not 24/7 drunk, Roy approaches Vandal and asks him to give him a hand with the project.
Sure. Yeah. What's up?
Awesome. So they go around to the yeah, they reclaim materials.
So as the days go by and the news reports fill the air, like trying to figure out what sparked the riot and how it became so widespread so quickly, nobody has a definitive answer. There is, the city's insurance companies are, scrambling to fill claim after claim after claim. People are, people have gone out of business, and the economy of the city has taken a hit. More so in the small business sector, just people, but there's a lot of people who are either out of work or are on the verge of going out of work. But a few start to band together, and the neighborhoods start to make the beginnings of their attempts to help out and clean up and try to hold on to each other um, so that it's harder for people to go out of business. And the bar, actually, the Irish pub does open up to sort of accommodate that. They their sort of public statement, like on their website, is we're not trying to make light of what happened, but we also need to keep what's left of our roof over our heads. So we're here serving food and drinks to anybody who wants to eat them and drink them. And then, Jamie, if it's all right with you, can I basically just say like you sent out invites to various people to show up at a cookout at your place?
Yeah, that's fine. If there's anybody who shows up that we specifically would not have invited, I'll let you know.
So the people who show up are like Layla and Travis show up, and Layla says, "My dad and my brother, thank you for the invite, but there's always got to be one or more of us, you know, around the homestead protecting it." And they said that I sort of served my time, so they're taking over for me for now. So I finally get a night out to party. And she like waves. She's like double fisting like really good whiskey in each hand. So she, yeah. And like,
By the way, well organized to cook out.
yeah.
This is something I think is surprised everyone because like you didn't really bring it up. I'm like people at the casino.
Yeah.
Like,
Travis sees Becky's eye waggle and gives her a knowing wink.
Somewhere coming across the party, Travis hears a howl.
Oh no. This is exactly what happens. Vandal comes home after like talking with Sosa, about his hours or whatever, cutting back or getting more, maybe starting like a neighborhood watch kind of thing. And when he comes back, he's still hungover from his 6-day bender. And what he opens the door to is literally all of his friends like double fisting drinks, and Travis is tapping a keg, and there's just beer and liquor like lined up on the tables. And Vandal just sort of, yeah. And Vandal's just like, oh God.
Vandal stops, he looks and says, "Yep, I died. And by some sort of miracle error, I got into heaven."
So like this doesn't like make him go like, I just spent 6 days drinking and now I have to do more drinking than I did in those 6. Oh God damn it!
This is social permission to just stay drunk.
Yeah. So Robin and Harrington show up.
I will say, I don't think like the others who was invited. Just that there's cookout and we're gonna have people.
Yeah, sure. So I'm just saying like people are showing up. Yeah, so sure. So now Robin and Harrington show up, and Harrington brings like a nice bottle of wine. Robin brings a 6-pack, and you guys know he's underage. But well, he's like 19 at the latest at this point. Yeah, Harrington. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like Harrington sort of says, like, it's your house, mate. So it's up to you. Yeah. So Robin opens a beer and begins awkwardly talking to Cherry. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like No, I'm trying to think of like how to describe him for Mariah.
He walks up and literally makes flowers appear from midair.
Yeah. And speak. Yeah. Think Miguel Diaz from Cobra Kai, if you've seen the trailer or the show itself. Okay, cool. Miguel Diaz. No, definitely not that guy. Type in Miguel Diaz Cobra Kai.
Okay, so that's.
Okay, so because he's had some recent training, he's been through some stuff. Can it be the Miguel from the date?
There's. Hang on. So there's this one that I'll. No, he's been spending the last like few months like that guy. He looks like that. Very baby faced. Yeah. No, I'm gonna say that he has been spending all of his time learning to control his own power and none of his time interacting with people his own age. Well, if he has interacted with people his own age, it's always in the context of how do I control my power and not anything else. Harrington, for his part, asks Roy's permission to work a bit of spatial magic in the house just so that they can have the option of seating on the ceiling, just to create more space for people to move around.
So Roy blinks blankly like he's never considered that that's even possible, and then just nods. Like if you just offered an unexpected candy,
Yeah.
nodding, he's like, if you could profit with, yes, I'd very much like to see that, please.
He explains it's only for tonight. The effect will wear off as soon as I leave.
All right. Well, he was a little disappointed. But, okay.
So, yeah, essentially, Harrington installs little blue markers on the floor where if you step onto them, you have the option of flipping upside down and having your personal center of gravity be affixed to the ceiling. So you can sit on the ceiling, walk around on the ceiling. He puts a few like armchairs up there. And yeah. So like Katrina is, thinks that's cool, but she's not really that impressed because she levitates all the time and she kind of makes a big deal of that to Becky. She's like, I could have done that. I mean, I could have done it on that scale, but I could have done that.
Brandon tries this out way too soon. He runs right over to one of the spots, tries to do like a flip to get himself righted, and he manages it, but he doesn't account for the fact that he has to move his body to match where the chair is going to be, and he just like slams right into the chair. No, he doesn't. It's not, and then, when it doesn't hurt, it doesn't break anything, but it's definitely like, it's someone down onto a chair. It's like they were a front person falling onto a chair.
Travis pipes up and he says, "Oh shit, you got something crawling around on your ceiling," and he grabs a broom from the nearest closet and he just starts whacking Vandal with it, trying to get him down.
Right, absolutely. It's just the dogs had to use these. And now we don't see the dogs.
Exactly. The party goes on. There's a lot of drinking and eating and laughter and conversation.
And where's, like, throughout the course of this, like, the stuff that's out for people to just eat, like, it's like snacks and stuff. Like, what Roy's cooking is purely, like, for a sit-down dinner. And there's a table now out under the gazebo. But there's, like, a dozen plus chairs around this. Like, it's a big table that's, like, folded out, and there's leaves, you know, you can flip up and stuff. And he's, like, setting all this out for, like, a big sit-down dinner for everybody.
Okay.
Don't ruin your appetites, because.
So while the people are sitting down and eating, at a certain point, I believe it's Max lifts his head and sort of just faces the house. And Jamie, if you don't mind, I'm just sort of gonna hand the GM this next part. Roy basically gets up and motions everybody to, remain seated. I'll go see who's at the door. You go into the back, and you reach the front door, and you can already see through the window. Because I imagine that the door is one of those things where, like, you've got the door, and then on either side you've got like glass or stained glass, and then above it there's another. Yeah.
You can definitely see through.
So you can see outside. And as you get to that point, you see Jay sort of standing at the driveway. And he's just standing there all alone. And it's almost as if he's sort of like putting all of his weight on one foot and teetering. And the expression you read on his face is just a little sad, but you can't really tell anything beyond that. And then as you open the door to, gesture to him like, come on in, you open the door and he is gone.
Okay.
Yep. But beyond that, you guys have a grand old time drinking, making merry, carrying on.
At one point, I gotta say, Vandal shoots Missy and Rhino a text, tells them to bring the instruments.
That's kind of up to Roy.
I don't think Vandal asked. So.
No, like
that. Just get it. Yeah, so he is, surprised by this, and then immediately not surprised by this, and invites them in. And there's a whole backyard that's built for dogs to run around in, so there's plenty of room.
So they set up the drum set, they set up amps, and being drunk has never stopped Vandal from being able to play music in the past, and it's not stopping them now, so.
Right. So Roy does text Jay after a little bit, and asks if he's coming.
You don't get a response.
Okay. All right, then then it comes back out, and there's music and stuff, and that's good. Everything's fine. And at a certain point, probably after when everyone would have expected, like, okay, everybody's here for dinner. Like emotions to the food, and everybody can have some big seat and hang out. And then gives Katrina like a nod, like they've discussed stuff that's happened. And if you're cool with me, what I had written, you're all right with that? Is that something that goes
hang on. What's written here, isn't it? The Ewan. Wait a minute. Is that number 4?
It's basically like if she can like put a hand on him and do the channeling thing so that she can be his voice? If that's something Ghost can do. If not, then there was never this like nod of agreement to begin with.
That's she's not really that good at reading minds like a book. Like when she read Vandal's dreams, like that was more just like flashes of images and stuff. She's really good at perceiving feelings and emotions, but she can't just like put her hand on your shoulder and become like your microphone, basically. Yeah.
Not even if like you're focusing on it or anything.
It would. I mean, the best she could do, honestly, is just read from text that you wrote out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind. Then she's just here.
I mean, I'm not saying that like no ghost could do it. I'm saying this ghost can.
Right. She just specifically.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine because like this would have been something he asked her. Okay, so that was then never part of the plan.
Yeah.
But the voice still has that inward thing that types and speaks for him. And
That's true. Yeah, and that's
easily hook up to what it is.
Oh God, I just knew right now.
Right. You're getting the speech. Attention party attendees.
It's literally just for him to go. Party's over. We go home. No, so I don't have like the exact wording of it down, but the gist of this is he had been hoping to get really all of the like factions or like sides of the supernatural world that we've encountered and made friends or allies with, because we've really made inroads across the spectrum here. We've been hoping to bring this together to like begin forming connections between these communities, so everyone's not so isolated and apart. Because there is an element to Delacourt's plan that wasn't wrong. The motives of like finding a place for your people is something everybody can relate to. So it's not even just a kindred thing or vampire thing. And if it hadn't been completely isolated and they have to do it on their own, a lot of this could have been avoided. There could have been ways to do this if everybody could have cooperated and known about each other's struggles and worked for each other. And he had been hoping like this isn't we're creating a Congress and this is the first meeting. This is just like everybody come have a cookout and be in one place together and try to be friendly, because they kind of all, I don't want to say owe us, but if there was one group that could do the, hey, everyone's under a banner of peace here, it's kind of us. So he'd hope to at least start the conversation. But Jay hasn't shown up, and he's not sure why. But I mean, we're all here, and that can be a start. And then just kind of lets the night go as it's going to go. Just build some goodwill and trust between groups that might not otherwise really spend any time or have a reason to spend time together.
So as you say that, or once you're all kind of wrapped up, Katrina kind of looks at you, and there's this very brief flash on her face where you can tell she's just sort of in awe of you. Travis and Layla look at you and then look at each other, and then it looks like they're about to say something, and then Travis then Travis like looks like he's about to say something, and then he starts to stumble, and then Layla has to catch him and sit him down, and just sort of spends the rest of the night like making sure he doesn't puke his guts up everywhere. Harrington gives it a thoughtful nod and takes you aside at one point and says, I can't I personally like the idea. I don't know how feasible it would be in practice. And I certainly couldn't promise any sort of regular meeting schedule, as my life, any gestures towards Robin, our lives are, I mean, tumultuous is an understatement. But I like the idea, and I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand. And I would like to talk about it again. Robin, who at this point is very clearly drunk, can't stop talking about it. And he's just talking about like that's such a great idea. We're gonna be like the United Nations meets the Avengers meets the the and he just can't find the last example. But he that doesn't stop him from trying. And he keeps, patting you on the back and telling you what a great idea it is and how he's down and like how he can't wait to be a part of it, and he wants to like go recruit other mages for the cause and all that kind of thing.
Immediately after Roy finishes up his speech, Randall leans over to Rhino, who's sitting right next to him, and says, by the way, vampires, lizards, werewolves, ghosts, and zombies are all real.
Yeah, no, for sure. I didn't like anybody who was invited. Just got all that.
Yeah. So Rhino looks at you for a second, Vandal, and he says, "Oh, dude, come on, man."
He's like, no. No,
point to the chairs on the ceiling, like.
And then Rhino spends a Rhino spends a good deal. Actually, oddly enough, normal humans can't perceive the effects of cleave, but that's beyond. We definitely have the ceiling chairs, the ceiling furniture. So Vandal takes Rhino in the house, shows him the ceiling furniture. He's like, "That's some Ripley's Believe It or Not shit right there. That's that." But I've seen that before, in like Ripley's and Wonderworks and all that kind of. Come on, man. Come on. And like he wanders onto the blue square and he starts like slowly levitating and rotating to the point where he actually sits down, and he's like, come on, man. And he's like starts slow clapping, like, okay, yeah, all right. He just got magic chairs, and then he passes out.
One of us probably puts his hands on and says, it's not like, I'm just going to ask
So Missy spends the next 5 minutes trying to toss a blanket onto Rhino, but it keeps falling back down. She can't figure it out. Yeah.
No. In reply to Harrington, Ray kind of re-emphasizes that point of like he's not asking anyone to sign anything. He's basically saying like rather than be completely separate communities, like let's swap numbers. Like that's what this level is right now. If something goes down, you don't have to handle it yourself. We're all friends. But then he leaves it back because that's he's going to talk it over with his people basically.
Yeah, Layla kind of conveys the same thing. Like she goes into a little bit more detail. Like, well, that guy knows you, and I know you, and I want to say that any friend of Roy's is a friend of mine, but you also have to understand, me and my family, we have seen so many different kinds of people, and we've had to make weird deals and concessions, and there's a lot of water under the bridge. Um, I mean, I'm not saying no, and I'm not saying never, but just maybe give me some time to warm my dad up to the idea. And, you know, as you know, and as Travis will tell you, I'm here when you need me. It's the least I can do because I know you guys would have my back. So
yeah, I tapped out a message to her. You're always welcome.
So basically, the feeling you get from the two is it's an idea that they probably wouldn't have. I mean, they probably wouldn't have given any serious thought to, except that now they've both seen the practical application of it. But the problem is that the practical application of these one or two instances, um, with the hunters and the wizards, with the hunters and the vampires, with the hunters and the werewolves, and even with the hunters and the ghosts. Well, while there have been a couple of interactions for each faction, um, they themselves have to stack that against years of this kind of interaction going incredibly poorly. So, yeah.
And again, like, what does keep stressing, like, this isn't, let's form an alliance. Like, because there's that, like, hunters have the same thing, you know, with all the various groups as well. This is a unique moment, and the goal of this isn't to, like, again, nobody's signing anything. And it's totally fair for everyone to have this, like, I don't know that this can work. What was after for tonight is just to get people to not dismiss it as a ludicrous idea.
Then you succeed in that venture.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I would say everyone's head is had at least a few drinks, I'm sure.
Maybe.
That could actually go either way. Yeah. Okay. So does anybody have any further interpersonal reactions they want to do? And you guys can talk to any of the can try to talk to any of the NPCs as well. Travis is aware enough to talk. Layla is. Basically, with the exception of Rhino, everybody's fair game for conversation. Yeah, Robin's pretty out of it. He's still conscious, but yeah.
Layla's gonna, like, after she attempts to fails to put a blanket over Rhino, Layla pulls Missy aside and says, yeah. Basically spells it out that he feels like he and her and all the other people who have been at the garage, you know, basically their core people and the points could be a part of that after fashion in the same way that the neighborhood watch could contribute to like a full-on joint task force. Basically, that he feels that's possible for people to be able to help victims of supernatural events without either the victims or the people helping being completely aware. The riot was a perfect example of that. Now, they didn't need to know that the cause of the riot was fucking vampire street drugs. They still saw help was needed and help to be done. So he kind of passes the idea past her that maybe they could start doing some like community outreach on the level of like the underground music scene for, you know, the have-nots. And he doesn't really expect anything from the conversation. Like, he just kind of like passes it off onto her. And I think she would know, she knows it well enough that he's probably going to go ahead and try to do it anyway, whether she helps or not.
So Missy takes all of that in, and she she says it's gonna take a long time to, to get people to the point where, they'll trust you enough and be motivated enough to want to get in on any neighborhood watch, much less a joint task force of sorts. But she says, if you put in the time and you talk to people, and I mean really talk to them, not just get up on stage and try to be like the front man of the band guy. I mean, if you really put your effort into one-on-one conversations with people, or even 2 or 3 on one conversations, and you're sincere, I think maybe you've got a shot at making this work.
And after she says that, Dana puts a hand on her shoulder and looks her dead in the eye and says, I am completely serious and devoted to this idea. A lot happened that night. And I just keep thinking about, I want to speak about Molly, but I don't know, over this past week I've been thinking about this one concept she floated by me a few times that never really got it, that outside of the context, I wouldn't know, but sometimes the best vengeance is victory. If you can undo the damage that evil people do, even if you don't get straight to them, you're making them impotent in a way. Yeah, I'm dead set on making all this right, because for me, I will be getting back at these bastards.
She nods and says, all right, well, then I'm with you. Sherry or Becky, do you guys have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, she's not doing anything in particular, like just kind of milling about, getting to know people on different situations, supernatural and all.
Okay. Go give me a
She's not going to haul Robin off into her bedroom and see what kind of magic happens.
That does not happen in my house.
Yeah, no.
Not about a cell phone event. Have you all seen the chairs on the ceiling? We know what kind of magic happens in Ray's house.
You crazy kids.
Come on, who put the bed up there, you guys? No.
Yeah. So, if...
People talking to the ghost, there's something like each other. That's not a sympathetic. It's just kids, man.
Yeah. So there are no further conversations that any of the player characters want to have with each other either?
I think we're like, checking with Harrington and with Robin just to make sure he's doing well, kind of it's not his kid, but also kind of his kid.
Yeah. He
make sure he's doing okay, and any problems, but not helicopter mode.
Yeah, no. He's fine. He's doing well. He's progressing well. I meant more of are there any PC interactions that we want to? Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Not based on what we know.
Okay. So basically, the night ends very well. Everybody's very happy and content. There's oddly enough plenty of sleeping space all over the house. But before, but before everybody goes inside, they Robin maintains that he knows a way to turn the 3 dogs into 300 dogs. And he's just like, just watch, just watch. And like several of you have to physically restrain him and tell him, no, shh, no magic when you're drunk.
Yeah, the dogs do this, keep lining up for it.
Yeah. Okay. So the days go by. Harrington and Robin leave for their home in northern Georgia. Layla and Travis head back to Gainesville, and Missy and Rhino head back to their homes. And it's time to meet with the Atlanta cell at Tap That Glass.
In the meantime, like, right, not obsessively, but keep texting to try to check in with Jay and find out what happens, like, any response to any of that.
He says he appreciates everything that you guys have done, but he can't interact with you or anyone now. He, aside from the fact that he is taking this very much on his own shoulders, and he feels very much responsible for this. They never found Tanya, and he has to search for her. Yeah.
So Roy texts back, you don't have to take all of this on your shoulders. You don't have to do this yourself. And then leaves it at that.
Okay. 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 Yeah. All right. So you guys head to Tap That Glass, and as you push open the door, you see Graham behind the bar, and he, nods and waves at you guys, and he.
Roy diverts from what they were doing just to go say hi specifically to Graham.
Right.
Handshake and like how you doing, but like does come back. Like that's priority one.
Yeah. And then Graham says, like, they're in the corner.
And then Vander does something that nobody probably ever would have expected him to do. He walks up to Graham, holds out his hand, and says, I'm sorry for pushing you in the face.
Graham blinks,
Roy dies instantly.
Yeah. Graham blinks and returns the handshake, and he says, accepted. He's very much surprised. Okay, so Graham, yes, he absolutely would say it like accepted. If in fact he would probably Yeah, no, he would say like I accept your apology. It's yeah. You're right. You're well, I was kind of going with the whole like my mind is blown that this ruffian has has decided to reflect upon his violent ways and offer this in the way of recompense, and then he catches himself actually verbalizing his internal monologue. That's how taken aback he is. I will wrap this up very quickly after this last little bit here. So they're waiting for you in the back table. It's Barry, Chandra, Paul, Sato is there, and also Melody. All 5 of them. Melody was like the innocent / redeemer of the group. Sato was the avenger of the group. Paul was the visionary, Chandra was the defender, and Barry was the judge. If that helps.
Well, those things I remember. I also had more notes. But anyways, don't worry about that. Continue.
I mean, they motion you over, so.
Oh, Reno goes over and he sits as directly across from them as they can.
Everybody else?
Becca's actually going to linger at the bar since she wasn't a part of the whole Atlanta Cell drama breakdown.
As far as my name back up,
So Roy in the middle here is kind of looks back and forth between the two assemblies. Yeah, he goes over as well and pulls up a chair kind of to the side. So like he's at the table, but he's not like going to sitting on the opposite side like he is. Like, is there like a beam that I can lean against like near the table without actually sitting down and engaging?
Sure.
All the way at the bar?
Sure.
I did that. I can post that.
Daniel holds his hand, goes forward, and it says, "Go."
We want to thank you for the tip that helped us put an end to the chaos the other night. We wouldn't have known what to do without you. Thank you.
Daniel nods and thanks.
Barry says, we don't think it was wrong per se to bench you. And having said that, I need you to know that the reason we did it was because that whoever it was, whatever it was, clearly got a hold of your personal information, and they made some threats that we thought that they would have an easy time making good on. We did it to protect you. We probably could have done better. And you have all proven to be incredibly capable on your own, where we, in the past, we didn't feel that way. You guys have grown, and I see you've recruited someone else to the cause. Sato, almost under her breath, says, she's a little young, isn't she?
Sarah steps forward and just kind of looks close up and says, "I'm old enough."
I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect reaction.
Sato just nods. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Obviously, we don't feel we have anything left to teach you as mentors, but we don't see why the lines of communication have to be down. And if you need any assistance going forward, you can count on us. That's what we came here to say. What we all reached a verdict, and the verdict is that the four of you are perfectly capable and trustworthy.
Daniel returns a little bit.
Every single member of the Atlanta cell blanches at that statement. They go very pale.
Why was a group of brand new hunters sent on what was basically a suicide mission with an inadequate amount of intel?
If you're talking about taking out the last vampire, the intelligence had suggested that he was on his own, and none of us knew anything about the bomb. You outnumbered him 4-1, and we had trained you for a year. There was no good reason to think that you couldn't. And then Chandra cuts Paul off and says, "That was our bad. Maybe we should have at least tagged along in the background as observers. But honestly, we thought you had that one. That went south. No one could have predicted how that went down."
I want to rule perception, empathy to judge how Paul has been reacting to this.
Go ahead. Diff 6. Actually, no. Tell me what your perception empathy numbers are.
Perception.
Total dice. Total dice.
Just 3.
For perception and empathy, that can't be right.
Yeah, I don't have any empathy, but it's the closest thing I can think of. Actually, no, perception is subterfuge to judge to see if he's
No.
doing something.
No.
Yeah, subterfuge is accurate. I can have a look at it.
No. 6 dice? Okay. Both of you get the sense that both Chandra and Paul are telling the truth. They are not hiding anything.
I think for the justification I think for that, like, well, here I'll have really quote unquote role is like, I think we all knew what was going to come up in this meeting. So I think we've talked about this and kind of knew what we're looking for. So that would be the justification for that. So then I think Red like just gives like a little nod to Randall.
That like they're telling the truth nod.
Not like I concur or like confirming nod.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Sorry, I'm quickly reviewing some notes.
Yeah, and then Barry asks, "Who have you been talking to about the Florida cell?"
That doesn't reply.
All right, Dan, is there anything you need to know that I can probably fill in if you're I don't want you to like spend 15 minutes rifling through your notes.
No, I'm not looking for anything in particular in my notes, just trying to recall all the things that Travis and basically everything that Kincaid would have relayed to Travis, everything that they had gathered on what was going on in the Atlanta cell. Possibly could have been going on.
Basically, everything that you relayed to Travis was that the thing with Jay and Caracas and first meeting with Delacourt, it all seemed kind of fishy. But there was like only substantial, there was only circumstantial evidence.
Mm-hmm.
The Florida thing, no one could have predicted because they told you guys to like lay low and get out of town, but they never told you where to go, and they never would have guessed that you would have gone to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't really be blamed for that either. So basically, all you have is the word of the guys in the Tennessee cell that they either set up the members of the Tennessee and Alabama cells a few years ago, or they just failed to show up completely. And then nobody ever heard from those guys again.
And that was Barry who said that Sandra and Paul were going to be telling the truth. Instead of answering back about the Florida stuff, Randall just slowly stands up, looks at the matron and says, "Thanks for giving us permission to keep doing what we've already been doing. If we need your help, we'll let you know. And if you need ours, you know how to get a hold of us." And then he turns to leave.
Barry stands up and grabs your arm and he says, "You need to listen to me right now. You do not know what you're getting into."
Randall drops his arm out of Barry's grip and squares off and gives him a very, I'm going to roll intimidation on this, a very hard back out glare. Becky moves off of the post to back him up.
I'm going to have Ryan react after this roll.
Okay. Okay, so Barry backs off, but Chandra and Sato do not. And they basically reinforce, just tell us what you know about what happened in Florida. And Paul asks, did you talk to somebody in the Tennessee cell or Alabama?
Damon gives, basically just scans the room.
The red sets it on the table and lifts the either group and definitely like puts his hands out in that like calm down motion. And like make a roll if you want, but like that's wisdom.
Make a roll.
If you're trying to get these precise to come down a bit.
I mean, yeah, go ahead and make a roll.
Charisma leadership?
Yeah.
Because like it's ultimately going to be up to Vandal if it follows it.
I know.
Like,
I know.
For them, I guess.
Yeah.
That feels like they're on the offensive.
They're not on the offensive. They're desperately trying to get information. They're not like trying to beat it out of you or anything. And so far as I can say, like, I can't make Vandal do anything, but Roy's calm down gesture definitely makes sense. Like that, there's no need to start shit where there is not currently shit.
So after the others settle down, Vandal looks at everyone and takes a few moments to collect his thoughts.
While he's collecting his thoughts, he picks up the phone and taps out. Tell us about Florida. He sets the phone down with the other side and say.
The Atlanta cell gets really quiet, and they all sort of look at each other. And then Barry shrugs and rolls his eyes, and he says, "No one else believes us. But by the time we got there, everyone was already dead. We had agreed to meet in this diner in Pensacola. We got there a few minutes late, but no more than 15. We didn't see anybody. You know, we had contacts. We didn't know everybody from the Tennessee or Alabama cells, but we knew the point men, you know, the representatives. We knew those guys. And they weren't among the body count. there was no indication that anybody in that diner was a hunter. We could just tell these were civilians. But, I mean, and as he falters, Paul finishes his sentence with a very confident, the evidence pointed to hunters. It looked like hunters had walked in and killed everyone in that diner and then walked back out again and driven away.
Right. While they play all that other role was Wit's expression. Can I have Roy like convey a question non-verbally to Randall that they don't pick up on?
Sure.
So basically, Roy is wanting to see if Randall is okay with them spilling the beans about, like, basically, Roy is like, should we confront them that we know that, or that we've heard, like, they're suppressing things? It's like we spill the beans, show our hand.
In response, and we would know this gesture, Randall, like, without raising his hand, shows Roy his palm and then closes it, as in, don't show your hand.
He could have shaken his head, but okay. I like not back. Like with that confirmed, it doesn't really matter. I think if the other Atlanta cell sees him like nod back, they clearly have some nonverbal thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean with that, nobody else wants to take the initiative.
Randall steps forward, puts his hands on the table, leans in. Shit that's going on. Fix it. Because we're busy. And then he gets up and quickly enough that no one can catch up and fucking grab him again, walks out.
What's about to see how they react to this?
They all like pinch their noses because they all spent at least a year with a vandal in the training thing, and they all just do the Jesus God damn it vandal kind of expression. And Chandra turns to you and says, "You've got to convince him he's making a mistake. There is more going on than you or he knows."
Why can't that, when she says that, you can't that and then tell us? And shows it to her.
And
Wait, like he's not being standoffish, like he's giving them the opportunity here.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how I convey this, but this isn't like a sitting back like a little thing. You say this is like him.
No, I know. I'm trying to get it out.
Okay, tell me I'm here.
I'm trying to get it out. Yeah.
Attitude is important with all. Yeah.
I know. She says, "We have no idea why they blame us. I mean, we've seen some of the documents and screen grabs on HunterNet, but we think someone in one of the cells is trying to set us up to take the fall, because, I mean, we've been researching this thing for 2 years. And in that 2 years, we've also been alienating ourselves from the rest of the hunter community, mostly in the Southeast. But, slowly word gets around that you can't trust the Atlanta cell. But our working theory is that something made one or more of the hunters in the other cells snap and just go on a massacre. and then that same thing wanted to pin the crime on us, probably just to keep us busy while we're at each other's throats. But if it is worse than that, and some hunters really did go nuts, and for reasons that we can't fathom, those hunters are still operating and they still have the ear of the other cells, then we've had to edit some information to protect ourselves and to protect other people that we know are on the up and up. And that's why we don't go to Florida. And if we'd had any idea that you were going to go to Florida, we would have told you to head in the opposite direction. And then when you went to Florida and all that shit went down, I mean, it wasn't exactly the same thing, but it was just one more check in the don't go to Florida column. We didn't know what else to do. We thought they could come after you. We thought they could use you to get to us, and that's why we cut ties. We didn't know who to trust. It's been 2 years, and we've been investigating this thing every way we know how, and we are still no closer to finding answers than we were when it happened. But that's why we don't talk to the other cells. That's why we hide things. That's why we change other things. And that's why the other cells don't trust us. You can believe what you want, but that's what happened. That's the truth.
Should I or can I make a roll to tell a few things sincerely?
You absolutely can.
Perception, empathy, right?
Perception, empathy. Yeah, I did. I am.
One success.
She seems like she's telling the truth.
So Daniel is, I mean, probably at the bar getting a drink, or has left or something. But Ray looks back to Becky and Jerry. Just to gauge their reaction on this.
Becky started looking real uncomfortable, but it's like something just made those hunters go sad.
Dan, muted if you're going to type furiously.
Yeah, I mean, I assume Daniel's not there still for to gauge his reaction. Is that right?
Oh, no. He had to storm out because if he doesn't, like, it ruins the whole.
Yeah, you got to slam the door.
Yeah. You said he walked away.
If you're still somewhere where he could be like overhearing this and reacting to it, fine. Like, what looks to him? So you tell me.
I should have mentioned like subterfuge for this, but I wanted to walk away with it looked like he was storming out the door, but then stay within earshot as opposed to actually leaving the building. I probably should have taken subterfuge from it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean.
So because you didn't make that subterfuge roll and you didn't tell me that was your intention.
Sorry. Yeah, then it didn't happen. It was not smoking.
Okay.
Okay. So then the roll back to the other land cell and considers that for a moment, and like it's not subterfuge or an act or anything. Like he's seriously considering what they say. And type that on his phone. Touch goes both ways. And then it adds underneath that. If we're going to help you, there can't be any more secrets. It looks to them with an expression like, agreed?
They all look at each other and they look at you and they all nod quietly to themselves.
Roy nods back and stands up and kind of wiggles his phone and that, like, you've got my number gesture. And turns as if to go and gives a quick glance to Harry and Becky and make sure that they don't have something like that's clearly on their mind that we need to do before walking away.
No, Becky's pretty much like kind of pulled into herself a little bit. Like she's got her arms crossed across her chest, finishing her drink, but is very withdrawn after that conversation. Yeah, Sharon doesn't have anything else to really ask. Just trying to process everything, so just fine.
So there's like a kind of whispery situation happening over at the Atlanta Cell table, and the whispers turn to like very low voices, and it seems like Melody won't calm down about something, and like Sato puts a hand on her arm, and then she says, "No, just no, okay, Roy, please come here, please."
Yeah, he comes back.
Sato says, like, there's no evidence, there's no reason to think it could possibly be related. She says, I don't care, as she's drawing something on a bar napkin. If he's never seen it, he's never seen it. But if he has, then it might mean something. And she draws something on a bar napkin. And if everybody would go to the Skype, like the text chat window. She finishes drawing it, and then she slides it kind of violently in Roy's direction. She says, have you ever seen this?
And he picks it up. To refresh my memory as the player, that is a symbol of Z. Where did we see that? That's right.
And that's where we end it. Okay, I actually didn't want it to take that long, but hey, we still have like a boatload of time before midnight. So anybody who needs to take a bio break, take one now, and then I
did not really for this to be like a full thing. That's my bad, I guess. I thought this was like a wrap-up situation.
Well, I know, and I tried to wrap it up quicker. Okay, so are you out for the rest of the night, or?
I mean, I need to like dinner, like plate food and eat, or otherwise I'm not gonna be able to talk.
Okay, cool. So take 15. Take 15, everybody. I mean, I'm gonna be right here, but still.
Yeah, I've got some as well. Okay.
Cool.
Before I do stuff around that, thanks for letting me do the stuff. And this is your better.
No. Thank you. That really helps. That helped add substance. Skyfall.
I am definitely going to take advantage of spare time to finally organize my Hunter cyber paperwork. After sheets floating around I don't need. Notes scattered all over the place. Cats and dogs living together. Fancy state.
Of course, it's raining now.
Come back and I'll be chilling.
Thank God. My favorite sound in the world.
Well, I mean, I guess I could unmute myself and
I caught myself like it was very very much in at the beginning of the day, like that early morning, like I'm not completely cognizant kind of feeling. I just caught myself staring at people eating in the cafeteria at work. And I'm like, turn your head quickly before someone notices that you're staring at them while they're chewing.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man, like, we should stop staring.
Too late. Too late.
What a season.
Thank you. Couldn't have done it without you guys.
Well, I mean,
Literally.
you could have written a book.
I really couldn't have. I don't think I have the fucking patience.
I need to follow the advice that I really like about writing, which is just sit down and suck at it. It doesn't matter if it sucks at first. Sit down and write. Get in that butt-hole chair time. The rough draft is going to be terrible. The second draft, after you edit, is still going to be terrible. That's what editors are for. Just put the dotted and write it. Start to finish, just get it out first. And then that stuff is after that.
Mm-hmm.
The gamut is video game achievements are not going to achieve themselves. Well, I mean, they could with the right coding nuance, but that's cheating.
I mean, like, and I just hope that sentiment brings you a lot of comfort when you're reading someone else's bestseller.
And really, it actually really does this. I enjoyed it less when I read something like, fuck, I thought of that idea forever ago. But
I'm just saying, man, like, you know, I don't want you to be sitting in an armchair reading like, oh, I thought about that and I could have done it so much better, but I killed the Jarl or whatever. I don't even know if killing the Jarl is a thing you can do. I assume it must be.
you can, in sound, you can kill everyone and everything, including the children with the right minds.
Yeah, they didn't really have children before in Elder Scrolls games, did they?
Well, and in Skyrim, without mods, all the children look exactly the same, regardless of gender. And there's no, like, discernible teenagers, just like, they're at the very left of the age scale and they're scrawny, but they're still really reckless teenagers. They just look like scrawny adults.
Gotcha.
There's also mods for that, you know, Teenagers inspired.
That sounds like a porn site.
It probably is. Okay, my chocolate face is almost done then.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time. Did you find a... Oh, ha 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 ha. Taco Fest.
Yeah, how much XP? What is the reward slash fallout mechanics wise in all of this?
Everybody... Oh, yeah. Oh... Everybody give yourself...
We're going to get XP for last system, too.
Yeah.
Brian said no. I really do remember him saying, like, no XP.
Yeah, it's just being a dick, but... Everybody give yourselves 7 XP. Roy and Vandal get a point of conviction each. No, what? Why?
Since the end of the season, it normally resets. Okay, so we're just starting an additional next time. Okay, never mind.
I mean, how much XP do you, or how much?
You have the conviction you have.
Yeah.
You just have a starting conviction.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, if you end the season with like 8 conviction, I'm not gonna make you start next season with 4.
Yeah, like I've got 7. I'm not giving that up. I'll
Yeah.
try to use it.
Yeah. Likewise, but I mean, if you have only 2 conviction at the end of the season, then at the start of the next season, you will start with your starting amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was at 3. Like before.
Yep. I'm thinking about... Thinking about giving you guys the option to purchase an edge with XP, because, like, with the exception of Roy, nobody's really been able to make much headway in the area of advancing your edges.
Yes, please.
So, oh, let me see. Thank you.